Eric Libby from the Convoy platform. Convoy platform now for everybody is it's a platform for brokers and carriers to work together to secure freight. No longer a broker ourselves. My role at the Convoy platform is director of the carrier network, and generally what that means is acquisition, vetting, performance management, as well as engagement and experience of the carriers and brokers that use our platform, making it a seamless experience on both sides. Because we're an automated platform, it's incredibly important that we are mitigating fraud on both sides of the. We're making sure that the brokers that are posting loads are posting legitimate loads in a fashion that is going to protect carriers. The carrier side need to make sure that the legitimate carriers that can haul the freight that they're booking are protecting the broker customers that we have in that process. We go back to 2022. Convoy at the time experienced beginnings of the fraud epidemic we're talking about today. We had a rash of thefts early in that year. At that point, it's a huge problem. We heard about insurance premiums going up. We're experiencing things. We put together a team to understand how does fraud happen? How can we protect ourselves? At that point, we came up with four main issues of what led to fraud. First one being that decisions were immediate or one-off. One-off from the standpoint of the carrier would be onboarded onto a platform, onto a broker, and not really looked at again. They were approved at the beginning and not after that. The other part would be loads are booked on the phone or via email. An operational team member is making a decision in that moment. They had some tools available to them. Often they're incentivized to do the wrong thing. They're trying to get a low rate. They're held to that, where fraud prevention wasn't really a thing at that point in time. The second one was with the tools that were available, there's really a lack of data-driven decisions. And still to this day, we hear a lot of how many inspections the carrier have, how long is their tenure in the industry been. While those are well-intentioned and help understand the operations of a company, it might make a carrier look like they're better than they really are if you start to look at the forensic side of it. Maybe it's now operated by someone that you don't want hauling your loads. Third one being, talk about carrier vetting. Don't really talk about the driver that's actually hauling that load. So the carrier might look good, but then they just hired a new driver that is fraudulent, that is going to do something with that cargo. How do you understand who that driver is? You want them hauling the load? What verification steps are happening there? And there wasn't many. The last one that we find is most important, call it the whack-a-mole problem. You might exit an MC from your network, but the actor behind that MC saw an entrance. They learned where you walk. And they're going to react, get around that the next time. So rather than talking about carriers alone, looking at the actor behind the carrier and seeing how they can spread across other carriers by buying, selling, compromising MC. What's important here is end-to-end monitoring. Talk about one-off decisions that are being made. How can you make sure that you're monitoring throughout the life cycle of a shipment and of a carrier? It starts at onboarding. What's all the information you get during onboarding, both from public available data, the verifications that you do, and the forensic data that you're able to accumulate during that time? What computers are they using? What IPs are they using? What behavior do they use in that process? Are they trying to mask their identity at all? As you move on, they start to tell you what they want, what lanes they want, what region, just general interests that they have. As that flows forward, what do they actually try to book? Does that match up with what they told you? They say, hey, I just want LA loads from LA to Rancho Cucamonga, short haul, but then they start to book long haul, right? That changed. How do you understand when that changes? When you get into bidding and matching, do they do things that are suspect? Do they bid really low that no carrier would ever take a load that low? Are they doing that? And do they find it acceptable when they're matching? Are they matching more than one shipment at once? Even if they have one truck, what does that profile look like? After they match, what are they doing to prepare for the shipment? Are they easy? Are they enabling location you can track them? Are they providing a truck number, license information if needed? Is it easy to get that from them? Are they responsive to that? Once they start hauling a shipment, are they keeping tracking on? Are they changing drivers? Are they doing things that are suspect? And then when it comes to payment, are they making requests that are odd? Are they trying to get detention when a facility normally doesn't have detention? They work fast. Are they trying to get payment really fast, being aggressive to try to get payment? Through all these, making sure the accumulating data that can be used as you move forward. How do you use that data? We found great success in building network graphs. Really, the way to think about this is every dot showing here would be a carrier. Every line between them is a connection. Generally, when a carrier attempts to onboard, you don't know much about them. You might have public data. You might have the verifications that you've done, but you don't really know the connection unless they share an address with another entity. But you have a number of other carriers in the industry in your network already. We have some information about them. You know if they're good. You might know if they're bad. They have more behaviors as they use your product. They haul shipments. You get more data points from that. And you can start drawing lines between them. These lines are strong, like where you can tell they're using the same computer or the same device. It has to be the same person. Or maybe they share an apartment address that's not the same, but they're kind of in the same vicinity. As your network grows, this gets stronger and stronger. Draw more lines between carriers. It gets denser as you go forward. This is incredibly important to be proactive. The whack-a-mole solution I talked about. You know the first carrier, you're going to know the second, third, and fourth. You can draw these lines as they attempt to join your network, or they change their persona over time, changing devices, changing locations, changing different things about their business operation. What this looks like at scale, the chart on the left would be graphing about 200,000 motor carriers. If you think about this as a galaxy, the gravity pulls the connected carriers to the middle because there's a lot of connections between them. They have the same behaviors. They do the same type of things that you can relatively say that they're connected. Not all of these are fraudulent. These could be a driver that has gone from hauling under a carrier before to starting their own. They're connected. That's not fraudulent. That's just something that it happens in. But if it's the same actors that are continuously going between carriers and one side of it's fraudulent, you can probably say the other side's going to be fraudulent as well. All the carriers on the outside are the normal carriers. These ones aren't connected. They're owner-operators. They're hauling their own thing. They're kind of working off. 90% of the carriers in the industry are in this outside base. And then they're good. The 10% is where we have to focus. Two main groups I'd call out in this graph. The top right, I would call these the double brokers. These are ones that don't haul freight. Previously, were just skimming money off the top, don't have their own trucks. What's interesting here is they're tied together with each other. So if you look at the angle of it, it kind of arcs around the outside of the center of the connections because they don't drive trucks. They're not connected to the normal industry. They're operating in regions that freight doesn't move. They're outside of the US, things like that. If we look at the bottom right, especially the kind of far down, but there's a red block. There's a huge blob of red right there. These are the cargo thieves. And these are the cargo thieves that generally operate in Southern California. In that blob, there's roughly 100 motor carriers. Very densely connected. You can't even see the dots because they're so connected. They're using the same location, very same behavior, similar behavior between all of them. What's interesting here, and it's been talked about before, these people actually haul freight. They've been legitimate maybe at one point, or they have parts of their entities that are legitimate, building the profile, making it look like they're good carriers. This is where it's really difficult to combat, because there's some what appears to be goodness, but it quickly develops into fraud. These are the carriers that can be stealing 15 loads at once they decide to strike. This is just showing connections based off of forensic data that you get. When we go forward, the really interesting thing that AI may bring to this, and Stripe kind of reported on a method they found in their system last week, is instead of using connections between carriers, they were able to just feed data to their transformer and created vectors that they could understand behavior. So the model is less determining connections, more determining connections of behavior. You can say, hey, what does fraud look like? A human might know when it's going to happen, but how can we train these models to understand that, like, when a specific person does this, this, and this, that's highly fraudulent. You can cordon that off. Really excited where this is going to go in the next couple of years. Why is this important? This is the public data available about a carrier that attempted to join the Convoy platform roughly 2 months ago. you look at this, mainly anybody would probably use almost 2 years of authority, 15 inspections, no FMCSA registration changes. We verified with their FMCSA phone number and email. We verified their CDL. Their IP match where they should be operating from, and there's no masking that occurred during that. They weren't using a VPN. They weren't using a data center. They send us matching truck and cab card photos. It did not have altering on it. They actually had a real photo of a truck. This doesn't look scary at all. As this carrier attempted to continue through our onboarding process, they exhibited a number of tells about their behavior, specific location, red zone location that we know these actors operate from, and very, very dense forensic data that tied us back to probably one of the most prolific cargo thieves in the US. And this is how difficult it's getting as we move forward, and why this forensic type of tracking is incredibly important to combat these. Where do we go from here? One of the big things we found is qualifying on factors that are hard to replicate. Anybody here can go buy an MC this afternoon. They can buy one that has 10-year inspection. You just don't change your registration with FMCSA, so no one knows that there's a purchase. How can you make sure the factors are hard to replicate? Behavior is something that is hard to replicate over and over. An actor is going to think that they are following the MO that they're trying to do, but they're going to slip up. They're going to forget to turn a VPN on, or they're going to turn the VPN on and throw a flag, right? You can't do the same thing over and over and never make a mistake. Make sure you're doing those things and not be public about them as we move forward. The second one, and this is something we probably learned the most from, investigating even close calls. So if you have a theft, like investigate that to the bottom level. Understand what went wrong and how you get better. Even when you catch the actor, make sure you're investigating. They're going to investigate too how they can get around the doc. We have a process where there's a 6-page doc we must fill out in every close call that we have. Our tech team learns from it and we make changes immediately to make sure that it's becoming tougher and tougher and hardening our processes. Next one, find your support. Law enforcement is super stretched in this area. There's certain bodies of it that are incredibly helpful in exchanging information, understanding MOs, helping us understand what they're seeing. Brokers, fraud prevention platforms. I want to know carriers are even important here too. We've learned some of our most important tactics from the good carriers themselves. Understanding what a normal operation looks like. How do they onboard? How do they provide documentation? What's just normal so we can understand when someone's outside of that bound. And the last one, don't be rigid. The bad actors are changing rapidly. They're getting more forensic. They're using AI to get around something. We've seen truck photos that use AI that they attempt to change the MC number on the side of the truck. Documents are easy to forward now. Don't be rigid. Make sure you're evolving, or they evolve too, by making it more difficult for them to get around your